Your kidneys can lose function for years before anything feels clearly wrong. That is what makes this so dangerous. Pain is not usually the early warning. A dramatic symptom is not usually the first clue either. These organs are built to keep working under pressure, even when they are being strained every single day. That means someone can feel mostly normal while their kidneys are filtering under stress, and their blood vessels are taking damage. And their body is slowly moving closer to a problem that becomes much harder to fix later. I'm Dr. Warren Hung, a medical doctor, and this is one of those health issues people need explained more clearly. If you like simple, practical medical explanations without the confusion, subscribe and stay with me. The kidneys act like your body's cleanup and balance system. They filter waste from the blood, help control fluid levels, support healthy blood pressure, and keep important minerals in balance. They also help with red blood cell production and bone health. So when kidney function starts to drop, the effect does not stay limited to one small part of the body. It can spread into energy, swelling, blood pressure, heart risk, sleep, and even mental sharpness. That is why daily habits matter so much, not extreme habits, ordinary ones. The first habit is not drinking enough water. This sounds simple, almost too simple, but it matters more than many people realize. Your kidneys need enough fluid to move waste out of the body efficiently. When you stay mildly dehydrated day after day, the blood becomes more concentrated, waste products are harder to clear, and the kidneys have to work under less favorable conditions. Think of it like asking a filter to keep cleaning, but with thicker fluid moving through it. It can still function, but the strain builds. This does not mean every person needs the exact same amount of water. Someone who is very active, lives in hot weather, or takes certain medications may need more. Someone with heart failure or advanced kidney disease may need medical guidance instead of simply drinking more. But many adults walk around underhydrated without realizing it. They wait for strong thirst, and strong thirst often means the body is already trying to catch up. Dark urine, dry mouth, headaches, fatigue, and feeling lightheaded can all be clues. But even before those signs become obvious, the kidneys may already be compensating. That is the pattern I want you to notice. The body compensates first. Symptoms often come later. The second habit is using pain relievers too often. This is one of the most common kidney stressors I see people overlook. Medications like ibuprofen, naproxen, and similar anti-inflammatory pain relievers can reduce blood flow to the kidneys, especially when they are used often, taken in high doses, or combined with dehydration. That is where real trouble starts. Someone has back pain, knee pain, headaches, or arthritis. They take these medicines regularly because they seem routine, familiar, and easy to buy. But routine does not always mean harmless. The kidneys depend on healthy blood flow to keep filtering well. Certain pain relievers can interfere with that process. For a healthy young person using them occasionally, the risk may be lower. For an older adult, someone with high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease, or someone who is already a little dehydrated, the risk climbs much faster. And because the damage may begin quietly, people often do not connect the habit to the problem. This does not mean nobody should ever take a pain reliever. It means frequency matters. Dose matters. Your age matters. Your other medical conditions matter. If you use these medications often, that is worth discussing with your doctor or pharmacist. Especially if you have ever been told your kidney numbers were borderline or your blood pressure is difficult to control. The third habit is eating too much salt. Salt pulls more than flavor into the picture. It affects fluid balance, blood pressure, and the pressure inside the tiny blood vessels that feed the kidneys. When sodium intake stays high day after day, the body tends to hold on to more fluid. Blood pressure can rise. That extra pressure pushes against delicate kidney blood vessels that were never designed to handle constant overload. Over time, those vessels stiffen, narrow, and lose resilience. This is one reason kidney damage and high blood pressure are so closely linked. High blood pressure can damage the kidneys, and damaged kidneys can make blood pressure harder to control. That creates a cycle, and it often begins with habits that seem ordinary. Packaged soups, processed meats, chips, frozen meals, sauces, fast food, and restaurant meals that taste normal but carry a heavy sodium load. And the problem is not only the salt shaker on the table. Most sodium comes hidden inside prepared foods. Someone may say, I barely add salt to anything. And still be getting far more than they realize. That is where people get misled. The kidneys do not care whether the sodium came from a shaker or a box. They still have to deal with it. Have you ever looked at a food label and been surprised by the sodium? Most people are, especially when it shows up in bread, breakfast foods, salad dressings, or canned items that do not even taste very salty. What makes these first three habits so damaging is that they often happen together. A person drinks too little water, relies on pain relievers for chronic aches, and eats a high-sodium diet built around convenience foods. None of those choices may feel dramatic in the moment. Put them together, repeat them for years, and the kidneys are forced to work in a body environment that is harder on them every single day. And once that daily pressure starts changing what is happening in the bloodstream itself, the damage gets even harder to ignore. Once the bloodstream starts changing day after day, the kidneys do not just filter waste. That is easy, and then they also end up dealing with repeated chemical stress. That is why the next daily habits matter so much. These are not always the habits people associate with kidney damage. But they shape blood sugar, inflammation, fluid balance, and waste load in ways that can slowly wear kidney function down. The fourth habit is drinking sugary beverages too often. This includes soda, sweet tea, energy drinks, sweetened coffee drinks, fruit punches, and many bottled drinks that look healthier than they really are. The issue is not only the sugar itself, it is what repeated sugar spikes do inside the body. When blood sugar rises often, the kidneys have to filter more glucose, and over time that can damage the tiny filtering units inside them. This matters even more for people with prediabetes or diabetes, but it is not limited to them. High sugar intake also tends to raise the risk of weight gain, fatty liver, insulin resistance, insulin patience, and high blood pressure. All of those increase kidney strain. So even if someone is not thinking about kidney disease at all, a daily habit of sugary drinks may be setting up the exact conditions that make kidney damage more likely later. Liquid sugar is especially easy to underestimate because it does not feel as heavy as dessert. A person may never sit down and eat several cookies. But they may drink that same sugar load in a large beverage without much thought. And because it is a drink, it often does not create the same sense of fullness. That means the body gets hit with the sugar, the insulin response, and the metabolic stress without much warning from appetite. The fifth habit is eating too many ultra-processed foods. This is one of the biggest hidden problems in modern diets. Ultra-processed foods often carry a mix of excess sodium, added sugars, unhealthy fats, and refined starches. And chemical additives that make them easy to eat in large amounts. The kidneys are affected by the total environment these foods create. Higher blood pressure, worse blood sugar control, more inflammation, more fluid retention, and more strain on blood vessels all push the kidneys in the wrong direction. There's another issue people rarely think about. Many processed foods contain phosphate additives. These are used to improve texture, shelf life, and flavor. In someone with reduced kidney function, too much phosphorus can become a serious problem. Because the kidneys may not remove it efficiently. Even before kidney disease is obvious, a diet heavy in processed foods, can create a more difficult chemical load for the body to handle. The confusing part is that ultra-processed foods are often convenient, cheap, and everywhere. They become normal. Packaged snacks, instant meals, processed deli meats, fast food sandwiches, flavored cereals, frozen dinners, and many protein bars all fit this pattern. A person can build an entire day of eating around these foods and never feel like they are doing anything extreme. But their kidneys are living inside the results of that pattern. This is where many people get misled. They focus on one bad ingredient and miss the larger issue. The kidneys are affected by the whole package. And just said as a sector. Higher sodium, higher blood sugar, higher blood pressure, worse weight control, and chronic inflammation all come together. The sixth habit is eating too much protein without understanding your own kidney health. Protein is important. Protein helps maintain muscle and supports healing. It becomes even more important as we get older to protect our strength. But more is not always better, especially when pushing protein hard through shakes, bars, and powders. Thinking more protein automatically means better health. When you eat protein, the body breaks it down and creates waste products that the kidneys need to remove. Healthy kidneys usually manage this well. But for those with reduced kidney function, diabetes, or high blood pressure, too much protein may increase the filtering workload. It is not that protein is the enemy. It is that context matters. Keep your kidneys safe by understanding your body's needs. This becomes a real issue when someone hears general fitness advice and applies it to themselves. Without considering age, lab results, or medical history. A person in their 60s or 70s with borderline kidney numbers may start using multiple protein supplements every day. thinking they are doing something protective. In some cases, they may be pushing their kidneys harder than they realize. That does not mean older adults should avoid protein. That would be the wrong lesson. Muscle loss is a real problem with aging. The right question is whether the amount, source, and overall diet fit the person's medical situation. That is where a doctor or dietitian can help, especially if there is any history of kidney trouble. Have you noticed how often health advice gets turned into extremes? No carbs, extra protein, cut this, add that. The kidneys are one of the organs that pay the price when broad advice gets followed without enough context. What connects these three habits is that they change what the kidneys are filtering all day long. More sugar, more sodium, more additives, more waste. More pressure on tiny blood vessels and filtration units that are meant to work continuously for decades. And the body may stay quiet while that stress is building. That is why kidney protection is not only about what you remove from your diet. It is also about whether your body ever gets the chance to recover, regulate pressure well, and maintain healthy circulation. Because once those systems start slipping, the kidneys feel it almost immediately. Kidneys do not work in isolation. They depend on steady blood flow, healthy blood vessels, stable oxygen levels, and enough recovery time for the body to regulate pressure and inflammation. That is why the next group of habits can be so damaging. They may not look like kidney habits on the surface, but they shape the exact conditions your kidneys need in order to stay healthy. The seventh habit is sitting too much and moving too little. This is one of those quiet patterns that affects almost everything. The seventh habit is sitting too much and moving too little. This is one of those quiet patterns that affects almost everything. When the body stays inactive for long stretches, blood sugar control tends to get worse. Your circulation slows. Blood pressure regulation becomes less efficient, and weight gain becomes more likely. All of that increases kidney strain. The kidneys are packed with tiny blood vessels. They do best when the entire circulation system is working well. When circulation suffers, the kidneys feel it too. Physical activity does not need to mean intense exercise. That is where people sometimes shut down and assume the advice does not apply to them. Walking, standing more often, light resistance work, and simply breaking up long periods of sitting can all help support healthier blood pressure and metabolic control. What matters is consistency. A body that stays in one position most of the day tends to move towards stiffness, poorer blood sugar handling, and higher vascular stress. This becomes even more important after middle age. When muscle mass often drops and insulin resistance becomes more common. A person can eat reasonably well and still put their kidneys under pressure if they spend most of the day sitting. The effect is not always dramatic in the short term, but over time it adds up. That is the pattern you should keep hearing in this discussion. Small things repeated daily become big things. The eighth habit is poor sleep, especially when sleep apnea is being ignored. Poor sleep changes more than energy. It can raise blood pressure, worsen blood sugar control, increase inflammation, and affect hormones that regulate stress and appetite. All of that matters to the kidneys, but there is one issue that deserves special attention, and that is sleep apnea. Sleep apnea happens when breathing repeatedly pauses or becomes shallow during sleep. A person may snore loudly, wake up tired, fall asleep during the day, or never realize how often their oxygen drops at night. Those repeated drops in oxygen put stress on blood vessels and on the heart. And they make blood pressure harder to control. When blood pressure stays elevated or erratic, the kidneys are pushed into a harsher environment night after night. So, this is one reason some people do everything they can think of for their blood pressure and still struggle. The issue may not be only salt, stress, or medication timing. The issue may be happening while they are asleep. And because the kidneys are so dependent on healthy circulation, untreated sleep apnea can quietly contribute to long-term kidney damage. If someone snores heavily, wakes up with headaches, feels exhausted even after a full night in bed, or has been told they stop breathing during sleep, that is worth taking seriously. It is not just about snoring. It is about what repeated oxygen disruption does inside the body. The ninth habit is smoking or vaping. People often think of smoking first as a lung issue, and of course it is, but it is also a blood vessel issue, a heart issue, and a kidney issue. Smoking damages the lining of blood vessels, increases inflammation, raises blood pressure, and reduces healthy circulation. Since the kidneys rely on a dense network of delicate blood vessels, anything that injures those vessels can reduce kidney protection over time. Nicotine itself matters here too. It can tighten blood vessels and contribute to blood pressure problems. That means even vaping, which some people see as a cleaner alternative, nakenshi de stochi ofrenigam, does not make this harmless from a kidney standpoint. The packaging may look different, but the body still responds to nicotine and chemical exposure in ways that can create vascular stress. This is especially serious in people who already have diabetes, high blood pressure, or early kidney disease. When those conditions are already present, smoking or vaping adds another layer of damage to blood vessels that are already vulnerable. The kidneys then have to function in a system where the circulation is less reliable and the pressure is harder to control. What makes these habits so dangerous is that they all work through the same broad path. They damage the environment the kidneys live in. Less movement, worse sleep, lower oxygen quality, more vascular injury, higher blood pressure, and more inflammation do not stay separate. They begin to reinforce each other. A person sleeps poorly, feels tired, moves less, gains weight. Blood pressure rises, blood sugar worsens, and kidney stress slowly grows in the background. And that is exactly why the most overlooked daily habit is often the one that causes the greatest damage of all, because many people keep living inside these patterns while missing the early signals their kidneys are already sending. The 10th habit is the one that ties all the others together, ignoring warning signs, avoiding basic lab work, and assuming your kidneys must be fine because nothing feels dramatic yet. This is where kidney damage becomes especially dangerous. These organs can compensate for a long time. They can keep filtering well enough to hide trouble while the underlying stress continues. That means a person can be dehydrated too often, rely on pain relievers, eat a high sodium and highly processed diet, move too little, sleep poorly, and still say, I feel okay. But feeling okay is not the same as being protected. One of the biggest mistakes people make is waiting for pain. Kidney disease often does not announce itself that way early on. Instead, the clues may be subtle: swelling in the ankles, blood pressure that is creeping up, urine that looks unusually foamy, getting up more often at night to urinate, feeling more tired than usual, trouble concentrating, a drop in appetite, nausea that does not make sense. These signs do not always mean kidney disease, but they are the kind of signals that should not be brushed aside, especially if they start showing up together. Foamy urine is a good example. Magentrop issues the idiotarize. Many people ignore it because it seems minor or inconsistent. But persistent foam can sometimes mean protein is leaking into the urine. Your oigu mashikini. That matters because healthy kidneys are supposed to keep important proteins in the bloodstream, not let them spill out. When protein starts leaking, it can be an early sign that the filtering system is under strain. Swelling matters too. When kidney function begins to decline, the body can have a harder time balancing fluid and sodium. That fluid may start collecting in the feet, at ankles, or wander insercount or lower legs. Some people notice rings fitting tighter, others notice sock marks becoming deeper. Again, none of this proves kidney disease by itself, but the pattern matters. Then there is high blood pressure. Nitro constabrebre, one of the most important warning signs of all. High blood pressure can damage the kidneys, and kidney trouble can raise blood pressure further. That two-way relationship is one reason checking blood pressure regularly matters so much. It is not just about stroke or heart disease. It is also about whether tiny kidney blood vessels are being pushed too hard every day. If you have diabetes, this becomes even more important. Elevated blood sugar can quietly damage the small blood vessels in the kidneys long before a person feels anything unusual. That is why diabetes control is not only about avoiding sugar symptoms. It is about protecting eyes, nerves, blood vessels, heart tissue, and kidney filters over time. This is also why basic lab work matters. Many people avoid testing because they do not want bad news, or because they assume no symptoms means no problem. But kidney disease is one of those conditions where numbers can show the issue before the body says much out loud. A blood test called creatinine and a calculation called EGFR can help estimate how well your kidneys are filtering. A urine test that checks for albumin or protein can catch early leakage that should not be ignored. Blood pressure readings, reading blood sugar measurements, and A1C levels add another part of the picture. These are not obscure medical details. They are practical clues. They help answer a simple question. Are your kidneys working in a healthy environment, or are they being worn down quietly? Have you had your kidney function checked recently, especially if you have high blood pressure, diabetes? A family history of kidney disease or regular use of pain relievers? That is a very worthwhile question to ask yourself. What I want you to take from all of this is not fear. It is pattern recognition. The kidneys usually do not fail because of one terrible day. They are more often injured by thousands of ordinary days stacked in the wrong direction. Too little hydration, too much sodium, too many processed foods, repeated sugar overload, extra pressure from medications used carelessly, poor sleep, inactivity, nicotine. And then the final layer of damage comes from not checking the signs that could have revealed the problem sooner. The good news is that these same daily patterns can often be improved. Drinking enough water for your situation, being more careful with pain relievers, reading sodium labels more closely, cutting back on sugary drinks, eating fewer ultra-processed foods, matching protein intake to your own health status, moving more often, taking sleep quality seriously, getting help for sleep apnea if it may be present. You may choose indeed not and it starts with stopping smoking or vaping and making sure your blood pressure, blood sugar, and kidney labs are actually being monitored. That is how kidney protection usually works, not through one miracle habit, but through less repeated stress. The kidneys tend to respond well when the body around them becomes easier to live in. And if something in this list sounded familiar, do not use that as a reason to panic. Use it as a reason to act sooner while you still have room to protect what matters. Speak with your doctor if you have symptoms, risk factors, or any concern about your kidney numbers, especially before making major diet changes, using supplements heavily, or continuing medications that may need a closer look. Your kidneys do quiet work for you every day. They ask for less than most organs, but they do need one thing in return: not to be slowly overwhelmed by habits that keep pushing them past what they can safely handle. If this helped make the picture clearer, subscribe for more simple health explanations you can actually use. Nakasumbor crowns albondi and let me know in the comments which of these daily habits surprised you most.